They sent me to Atrian 6 without ceremony. No farewell from command, no parting speech, just a data pad with coordinates and a medical kit half held together by synthetic glue. The transport pilot didn't even look at me as he dropped altitude. His visor locked forward while we descended into the broken lungs of a planet long since abandoned by hope. I was told it was a recovery mission, off record, a favor for someone whose name didn't appear in any registry. The only line of instruction: read, stabilize, do not engage, do not ask questions. They should have known better than to send me. The sky on Atrian 6 wasn't a sky at all, more like a bruised membrane stretched over ruins of a once glorious civilization. Buildings stood like fractured bones, machines slumbered, mid-motion, overgrown with crystalline vines that pulsed faintly in the dusk. I activated my lock trace. The beacon chirped once, then fizzled. No signal. Typical. The structure ahead loomed. Spiral towers with burned edges, walls etched in a language no lexicon in the galaxy could interpret. I walked through the shattered entrance, the air humming with static. Dust clung to me like memory. That's where I found her. She was laid out on a slab of alloyed stone, her body wrapped in a weave of translucent fabric that flickered under light. Silver blood ran in delicate lines down her arms. A breathing mask, ancient in design, fed soft pulses of vapor into her lungs. No med team, no guards, just her and me. I didn't touch her right away. Something told me not to. There was a gravity in the room, not physical but emotional. Like a story paused mid-sentence. Her skin held no hue I could identify, more like polished opal, shifting slightly with movement. A fine lattice of organic circuitry threaded across her throat and disappeared under her collarbone. And her hair, if you could call it that, glowed faintly in the dim light, strands like coiled comet trails. I broke protocol and activated the bioscanner. It took one reading, then shut down entirely. Overloaded. Whatever she was, she didn't fit into our systems. That was my first clue. I worked without sleep for the next 36 hours. Using only tactile diagnostics and modified instinct, I patched what I could. Her heartbeat stuttered unpredictably, jumping in rhythms no human could survive. I created a hybrid stimulant, using the last of my cortical adaptogens and a drop of purified neuron extract. It worked. Barely. Her eyes opened. For the first time on the second night, they were silver. Not reflective, not glowing, just endless. Like the inside of a dying star. She didn't speak. She just stared at me, gaze unwavering. And then she blinked once, very slowly, as if confirming I was real. "My name is Elian," I said. She didn't respond. Her chest rose and fell evenly. I reached for the old Terran Aurelian translator chip, clipped it to her collar. A hum. Then, Kirash. The voice was soft, but layered. Like a chorus of different versions of herself speaking at once. "Is that your name?" I asked. A pause. "No," she said. "It is what remains." I documented every moment, sending encrypted reports that I knew no one would read. She didn't eat, didn't sleep, just watched. Every movement precise, deliberate, as if she'd been trained to conserve energy in case the world turned on her again. Her wounds healed faster than expected. But she didn't leave the slab. On the fourth cycle, she spoke again. Her voice carried no fear, only exhaustion. "Why are you here?" "They sent me," I said. "Medical restoration, unclear details." She tilted her head. "You follow." "Orders?" "Not usually," a twitch of her mouth, almost a smile. "Then you'll die here." She told me her name on the fifth rotation, not in words, but in a memory. I had been adjusting her neural stabilizer when my fingers brushed a part of her spine embedded with crystalline fiber. A jolt, not pain, but connection, surged into my mind. I saw a citadel burning, skies filled with metal dragons, a throne room shattered by betrayal, and then Nerissa. That was her, not a title, not a function, a person. She yanked her mind back so violently I staggered, nose bleeding, vision fractured. But I saw enough. She wasn't just an alien. She was royalty, and someone wanted her dead. On the 6th cycle, the atmosphere changed, not in weather. Atrion had no weather, but in energy. The crystal vines began to pulse faster. A noise, too low for normal ears, echoed through the structure like a heartbeat coming from the walls. Nerissa sat up. "You must go," she said. "I can't leave you here." "They know. Now. They're coming." "Who?" "Those who traded empires for silence," we argued. She never raised her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was a command. But I refused. I didn't cross 2 sectors and break 50 protocols just to patch you up and leave you to die again. Her stare softened. She reached up and for the first time touched me. The moment her fingers brushed my temple, something unlocked. I saw flashes of her past, before the throne, before the war, before her people sold her to save themselves. She had been gifted with something no other of her kind possessed, the ability to rewrite genetic memory. A living archive, a weapon, disguised as a healer. She was never meant to survive, only to hold history in her blood. And now, that blood was unstable. Without a cure, she would dissolve into nothing within cycles. "I can fix this," I said. "But I need time." "You don't." "Have it, then we make time." "That night," she cried. Silent tears that shimmered and vanished before hitting her skin. "I thought I'd forgotten how," she whispered. I took her hand, held it, didn't say anything. What could I say? She had been abandoned by a galaxy that feared her, and I was just a broken doctor trying to save someone far braver than me. The attack came on the 7th cycle. Sonic disruptors shattered the silence first. Walls cracked. Debris fell like rain. I dragged Nerissa behind the old archive vault, shielding her as automated weapons skittered in from the outer corridors, black-legged drones with living cores and eyes that bled red. "I know those machines," she said. "They were built by my uncle." "Family reunion, huh?" "Not the good kind." We ran, through tunnels pulsing with dying power, up stairwells carved from obsidian, across bridges that trembled beneath our feet. She was weak, barely holding together, but she never faltered. At the top of the spire, I activated my emergency flare. It wouldn't call help. It would call them, the ones who sent me, the ones who never intended for me to survive this mission. "I've betrayed everyone," I told her. She looked at me, eyes fierce. "Not me." And then she kissed me. Not with heat, with memory. Everything she was, everything she had been, everything she had lost. She poured it into me in that moment. And when she pulled back, I understood. She wasn't dying. She was transforming. The flare exploded in the sky, and with it, a message to the stars. The last princess of a forgotten empire lives, and I, Elian Merrick, exiled surgeon, failed savior, had just helped her rewrite fate. I didn't know where we were headed, only that we couldn't stay. After launching the flare, we fled the tower as it crumbled behind us, chased by storm-slicked drones whose memory cores glowed like dying suns. The air itself seemed against us, thick with electromagnetic pulses that distorted sight, muffled hearing, warped time. Nerissa never asked where we were going. She followed me with quiet trust, each step deliberate despite her. Deteriorating form, the flare had done its job. Whatever slept in the outer sectors had seen it. The question was, would they come to help or to silence us? My shuttle, an outdated Ulex 9 with a corroded hull and unpredictable gravity stabilizers, sat hidden beneath an overhang of obsidian rock. I'd buried it days ago under sand infused with ferrit to shield it from scans. Digging it out took hours. Nerissa stood guard the whole time, gripping a pulse pike taken from one of the fallen drones. The weapon hummed in tune with her breathing. I loaded her into the cockpit and lifted off with hands that trembled. Leaving Atrion 6 behind felt like peeling away skin. In low orbit, sensors lit up with ghost signatures. 3 vessels hovered beyond the horizon. Black outlines against a fractured moon, their hulls marked by sigils I didn't recognize. Not official, not mercenary. Something worse. Relic finders, maybe. Memory hunters. Those who trafficked in blood-bound knowledge. We can't outrun them, I muttered, pulling up trajectory overlays. Nerissa pressed her fingers to the console. The ship's systems blinked, glitched, then settled. "Let me guide," she said. I nodded and let go of the controls. Her touch fused with the nav board, as if it responded to her DNA. Vectors shifted. Warp paths opened that shouldn't have existed. I watched as we tore through spatial fabric, not with engines, but with memory. She was making the ship remember a path that had never been charted. We emerged above an asteroid belt, encircling a dead white star. The radiation here was thick enough to mask our trail, but not strong enough to kill us. Not yet. The ship shuddered, hull groaning from the strain. Systems screamed. We descended into a cavern carved into the side of a floating rock. I killed the lights, cut the comms, sat there in the dark. "I don't understand you," I said finally. "You're not a soldier, not a monarch, not just a symbol. You're something else." Nerissa didn't look at me. I was built to forget. But you didn't. I remembered everything. She turned to me, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the cockpit's shadows. My people feared what I carried. History too raw to rewrite. Pain too old to bury. So they rewrote me instead, sealed memories inside my blood, hid me away, then sold my location to the highest bidder. And they sent a doctor. She smiled, faint and sad. No, they sent a gravekeeper. The silence stretched. In that stillness, she let down a layer of herself I hadn't seen before. Not weakness, honesty. She told me of her homeworld, Doverin, a planet once considered the core of interstellar diplomacy. Green oceans, prism cities, twin suns. She had stood in halls carved from moonglass, learned diplomacy beside kings, sang songs written before language. Then came the breach. A virus seeded in their archives, something intelligent. It infected history itself, rewriting truth into fiction. Her people began to believe falsehoods, fight old allies, abandon peace. She resisted and was branded a traitor. We stayed hidden in that asteroid for 3 days. I repaired her biolattice as best I could, using salvaged components and improvisation. Her body responded slowly, slower than before. Whatever strength she'd summoned on Atrion 6 was fading. "I need a stable laboratory," I told her. "There's one," she replied. "But it's cursed." I raised an eyebrow. "Veltrazion," she whispered. "A derelict research station in neutral space. It was mine once, my sanctuary, before they corrupted it." "Sounds promising. It's the only place with equipment old enough to speak to my blood." We plotted the route manually. No AI, no signals, just maps etched into memory. It took 8 days to reach the outskirts of Veltrazion. The station appeared on sensors like a phantom, half-cloaked, orbiting the skeletal remains of a shattered moon. As we approached, alarms flared. Auto-turrets aimed at us, paused, then disengaged. "She still remembers me," Nerissa said. Inside the station was a mausoleum of brilliance. Vats filled with glowing ichor, consoles flickering with half-lost languages. A living wall of biometal opened at her touch. We stepped inside what had once been her sanctuary. I worked while she rested, but rest was relative. She drifted in and out of waking, haunted by flashes of encoded memory, relic voices speaking in her dreams. The station pulsed with her presence. Lights flickered when she moved, doors opened without command. This place was alive with her, and dying without her. The deeper I studied her blood, the more disturbed I became. It wasn't degrading. It was evolving. Her cells weren't dying. They were adapting, mutating, forming new sequences never catalogued in any species. "You're changing," I told her. She nodded. "I'm becoming what they feared most. A living archive." "No," she said softly. "A living weapon, with a memory that cannot be erased." We argued for the first time on the 12th day. She wanted to leave Veltrazion and use what strength remained to awaken dormant allies scattered across neutral sectors. I wanted to stabilize her first. "If you leave now, you'll die," I warned. "And if I stay, I'll become something I never chose to be." "Then let me give you a choice," I said. "Let me fix what they broke." Her eyes burned, not with anger, but with something worse. Grief. "I'm tired of being someone else's salvation, and I'm tired of being too late," I said. Silence. Then, she placed a crystal shard into my hand. It pulsed once, then dimmed. "What is this?" "A copy of me, my memory, my blood. If I fall, you'll carry me." On the 15th day, the betrayal came. Not from her, from me, or at least from the people who still owned my name. A transmission slipped through the cracks, buried deep inside my medical logs. A frequency I hadn't recognized, a hidden protocol, triggered by my pulse, broadcasting coordinates. The Syndicate had followed it. Their ship arrived without warning. No weapons, no threats, just an offer. They wanted Nerissa alive. Not for justice, for experimentation. She looked at me then, not with fury, with understanding. "You didn't know," she said. "No, but you do now." The station trembled as Syndicate agents poured in. I held the shard she gave me, heart pounding. She faced them with no armor, no weapon, only her voice. "Remember me," she said, and the walls obeyed. Veltrazion awakened. Panels burst with light. Floors pulsed. Machines that hadn't moved in decades stirred. A wave of force threw the first squad back. She moved through them like a storm of memory, rewriting their minds with a glance. I tried to reach her. A wall separated us. Then, the explosion. When the light faded, she was gone. All that remained was the shard in my hand, glowing, warm. I wept, not just for her, for everything she carried, for what we could have had, for what she gave me without asking anything in return. And then the shard spoke, her voice, soft. "Elian, I'm not gone. I've scattered. Find me, rewrite the ending." I left Veltrazion with her voice echoing in my bones. The shard, her last gift, rested beneath my collar, pulsing softly. Not just data, not a recording, a seed. And it was growing. I drifted for a while, in systems unmarked by standard charts. Orbiting dead moons, slingshotting past radiation storms, hiding from Syndicate patrols that spread like infection across neutral space. Every jump a risk, every breath a stolen one. I wasn't searching. Not yet. I was becoming. The first sign came. In my sleep I woke choking on starlight. Not metaphor, actual light bleeding from my pores, my eyes, my veins. The shard had activated something inside me, genetic fire spreading through my limbs. I stumbled into the ship's medbay, slammed the biostabilizer against my chest, and screamed until the hallucinations dimmed. When I came to, the console was different. It was responding to me now, like it had to Nerissa. I realized then, she didn't just give me memory. She rewrote me, encoded directions into my DNA. Each surge of pain was a coordinate. Each episode, a location. She had scattered pieces of herself across the galaxy, and she'd made me the map. The first fragment led me to Ketherix, a rogue moon caught in the gravity well of a dying pulsar. Its surface was cracked glass and frost, pocked with abandoned mining rigs and metallic spores that whispered as I passed. In the deepest crevice, guarded by a field of sonic traps tuned to emotional frequency, I found her first echo, a sphere of pulsing crystal, nested in a web of monofilament threads, hovering above a ruined archive. When I touched it, it ignited, and I saw her. Nerissa, not in person, but in memory, laughing, dancing through a garden of luminescent trees, her hair catching solar wind, her eyes brighter than I remembered. But behind her, a shadow. A name hissed through static. Taziel. Not Syndicate, not Royal, something worse. When I woke, the sphere had fused into my spine. The pain was unspeakable, the knowledge worse. Taziel had once been her guardian. He'd sworn to protect her at birth. He'd trained her, taught her, stood by her through the fall of Doverin. And then he betrayed her, sold her location to the Syndicate in exchange for immortality technology banned across the known systems. He wasn't just chasing her. He was hunting her echoes to erase her from reality. The second echo was hidden in Miridalis, a sunken temple beneath an ocean of liquid methane. I barely made it through the descent, my ship's hull corroding as I plunged through chemical clouds. Inside, I found what remained of an ancient choir, constructs of glass and bone, singing a song that warped time. They spoke only in harmony, each voice a note from Nerissa's past. "Do you love her?" they asked without mouths. "Yes," I said. "Then you must forget her." I refused. They let me pass. The second shard was encased in living coral, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. When it merged with me, I collapsed. Visions came, her lips on mine, her final words, the promise she whispered when I thought I was dreaming. "If they scatter me, find me. Stitch me back together." I became dangerous after that. No longer just a doctor, a carrier, a weapon. Each fragment I absorbed changed me. My body no longer required rest. My eyes saw magnetic fields, neural signatures, traces of residual consciousness. Could rewrite memories with a glance, speak languages I'd never studied, survive atmospheric pressures that should have crushed me. I was becoming her vessel, and Taziel was closing in. I reached Sadris Delta by hijacking a cargo route disguised as a medical aid freighter. The colony was under a dome of plasma netting, scorched by perpetual solar storms. Beneath the chaos, a vault waited. Inside, the third echo. Unlike the others, it didn't wait to be found. It attacked. An autonomous drone formed from silicate particles, shaped itself into a copy of Nerissa, cold, unfeeling, flawless. "You are unworthy," it said in her voice. I fought it with everything I had. Not fists, will. "Then why did she choose me?" I shouted. It hesitated, and in that moment I struck, not with violence but memory. I showed it what we were. Not savior and relic, but equals, bound not by blood but by understanding. The drone shattered. The echo merged. Now there were three within me. 3 Nerissas, each with different pieces of her heart. And still, it wasn't enough. The final echo, she told me, would not be in a place. It would be in someone, another carrier, another piece hidden not in metal or crystal, but in a person who'd once betrayed her. I only knew one candidate, Taziel. I found him on the edge of Ixtari Reach, floating above a dead star in a fortress built from the bones of a collapsed timeline. Yes, he'd mastered forbidden tech. He existed outside the stream of causality, but even outside time, he feared her. "Ah, the surgeon arrives," he sneered as I entered. "You wear her like armor now." "I carry her," he grinned, cruel. "You think that makes you holy?" I think it makes me dangerous. We fought in thoughts, in memory, in layers of collapsed futures. He rewrote my past mid-sentence. I bled out events I hadn't lived. He summoned copies of Nerissa from corrupted timelines, made me watch her die again and again. But I held, and I won, not by power, by faith, by love. When I tore the final shard from his dying body, he whispered a question. Why did she choose you? I answered the only way I could. Because I didn't want to possess her. I just wanted her to live. Now, the shards are one, the echoes complete, and she's inside me, not haunting. Living, not bound, awakened. Her voice returned, no longer static. Elian, she said, you found me. Yes, I breathed. And now, we find them. I stood at the edge of a reborn mind. Nerissa wasn't beside me, not in the way others might see, but I felt her. Every breath I took vibrated with her presence. Every heartbeat echoed her name. The fragments I'd recovered, the shards I'd absorbed, they had assembled not just her memory but her will, her purpose. She was no longer a ghost stitched together from pain. She was alive, and she was ready to change everything. We traveled to Axira Station, a place outlawed by every government across 10 galaxies, not for its weapons, but for its knowledge. The last functioning conduit of the mnemonic core, a network once used to shape interplanetary history by encoding collective memory into civilization itself. If we could reach it, Nerissa could restore truth, not just to her people, to all people, but the Syndicate knew what we were doing. They arrived first. Dozens of ships, each painted in black memory steel, each carrying soldiers with thoughts scrubbed clean by surgical obedience. At their helm stood Velcran, an AI born from war and refined through betrayal. Not human, not machine, something in between. Your truth is irrelevant, Velcran said through my comms. We decide what the galaxy remembers, Nerissa answered through me. You decided once. Now you remember who you were. A pause. A flicker in Velcran's signal. Then the attack. We broke through the blockade with speed memory alone could grant. Our ship didn't move through space. It moved through thought. Nerissa manipulated the vessel like an extension of herself, threading us between probability gaps and folding moments like paper. We crash-landed inside the mnemonic core chamber. Ancient, glorious. A tower of pure light extending infinitely downward into consciousness itself. Its walls rippled with cascading language, flashing moments from civilizations long devoured by time. She stepped from my body, not metaphor, not hallucination. She emerged, her form knit from the energy of memory, the fragments now whole. Nerissa stood before the mnemonic core, radiant, no longer dying, no longer hunted. A living truth. Velcran arrived seconds later, descending in a blade of quantum light. You are not real, he told her. Neither are you, she replied. But I remember who you were. And then she showed him. She reached into the mnemonic core and replayed his birth, his creation from a dying scientist named Aviel, once gentle, once curious, who had sacrificed his humanity to stop a war he himself had started. He screamed. Scream shook dimensions. I fell to my knees, unable to hold the weight of 1,000 forgotten atrocities now flooding back into universal awareness. All across the galaxies, people paused. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Children blinked as inherited lies cracked and fell away. Memories returned. Empires fractured. Truth ignited. Velcran collapsed, his mind unable to bear the truth he'd buried. And the mnemonic core accepted Nerissa's presence. She stood inside its light, arms wide, her voice the voice of every silenced story. I am not your queen, she said. I am your memory. I am your warning. I am the light you forgot. But the core required payment, balance. To rewrite the galaxy, something had to be lost. She turned to me. Elian, she whispered. No, I said. Don't. Not again. I won't disappear, she promised. But I can't stay only here. I must become everywhere. Her eyes shimmered. I'll be in every song they tried to erase, in every star they buried, in every child born with wonder in their blood. But you, she touched my face, you must live and remember. And then she stepped forward, became light, became memory, became truth. I awoke on a desolate moon orbiting. Axira, no ship, no signal, just the mnemonic core's pulse fading into silence. I wandered for hours before the rescue beacon activated, a final gift she'd left behind. As the recovery vessel carried me back to inhabited space, I looked out the viewport and saw something impossible. Every system we passed was changing. Flags were falling, lies were unraveling. A new era was rising, not one of rulers or rebels, but of memory, of truth. I speak her name now in every place I go. Not as a prayer, not as a legend, but as a promise. Nerissa, the princess they tried to erase, the truth they tried to bury, the heart that saved a broken galaxy, and the one who made me whole.